Redmi's budget Note lineup was refreshed just a few days back, and I got my hands on the Redmi Note 11, the base variant in the Redmi Note 11 series. I have had good time with this device and I am ready to share my full and final review with all of you. Those of you watching for the first time, hit the subscribe button and like this video. The like target for this video is just 1000 likes. Let's start it off with the design and the build of this phone. The phone is built out of plastics just as you would expect from a budget smartphone. The frame is also plastic. The good thing here is that the plastic build helps cut down its weight and the camera module is more like embedded into the body. There isn't a prominent hump like the previous Redmi Note devices. My Redmi Note 11 is in the graphite grey color with this flat back. This phone has a twilight blue variant with a kind of a frosted back, and there is another starlight blue variant. I really like the ergonomics of this phone. It's slim and its flat edges make it more grippy. You will find a headphone jack, IR blaster, mic and a speaker at the top, a speaker, mic, USB-C port at the bottom, a dual SIM slot with micro SD card slot on the left and power button cum fingerprint scanner on the right side, followed by a volume rocker. Although this phone has a dual stereo speaker setup, its sound output is not very rich or crispy. It's just an ordinary sounding smartphone delivering you a slightly louder sound output. Redmi has used an AMOLED screen on this phone, and the good thing is that it's a pretty bright display. Gone are the days when Redmi used the LCD panels with poor brightness on its Note lineup. The cheap devices are definitely getting good. This phone gives you a peak brightness of 1000 nits and it's got 90Hz of refresh rate to keep the stuff smooth on the screen. This is not a top quality AMOLED screen, but it does its job pretty well. You won't run into viewing angle issues or the outdoor visibility issues. Colors, contrast and saturation looks pretty good on the screen. The display has HDR10 support as well. The punch hole on the front is not too big and bezels are also rightly sized. Chin is a bit noticeable. The only thing I don't like is the Gorilla Glass 3 protection on the front. I think Redmi could easily add the Gorilla Glass 5 on this phone, but they choose to cut the corners here. On the software end, you get the MIUI 13 based on the Android 11. MIUI 13 brings a lot of customization options and some cool looking elements. This is a feature which UI by all the means, and it ultimately makes this device more usable. You can choose the navigation gestures over buttons. The home screen customization options let you choose what elements you want on the screen and what you don't. You can also enable or disable the app drawer. I found the video toolbox and the Mi video player quite feature rich as well. This phone has features like the second space, the inbuilt app lock, dual messenger, etc. It does have haptic feedback as well, and the feedback is so strong it kind of gives you a buzz, like it just zaps you. My Redmi Note 11 has the 6 gigs and 128 gigs configuration, and you can find this phone in two other configurations. I'll mention those on the screen. Redmi has used the Snapdragon 680 chipset in this phone. It's a new 6nm chipset built for the budget devices. I think this chipset is good enough to deliver the expected performance at this price point. It posts a decent scores, and these scores are what we used to get on the upper mid-range devices just a couple of years ago. This also proves that the cheap devices are getting good. Once again, I have played a couple of games on this phone. I did not like its graphics performance, to be honest. Graphics look pixelated and jittery at times, but the games did not lag at least. I did not face any stutters either. Games ran smooth. While playing games on this phone, I had the fact in mind that I am not supposed to expect a very high-end result. If I just keep my expectations from this phone very high, it will eventually ruin my review. This is certainly not a gaming device, and I would call it an all-rounder instead. You can definitely do average gaming on this device. In terms of the cameras, the main camera on this phone is a Samsung JN1 50MP sensor. Remaining camera details are on your screen. Camera app is basic. It's got all the features an average photographer needs in a day. This phone can do 1080p at 30 frames per second videos from its front camera and 1080p at 60 frames per second videos from its rear camera. There is no optical image stabilization in this phone, and I don't think so that there is any kind of electronic image stabilization either. Camera result is fine. There is a difference between the ultra wide and normal camera's color tone. It should have been consistent, and it takes highly saturated images in the ultra wide mode and it takes just fine images in the normal mode. The high res mode can tinker with the dynamic range at times. Selfies come out super soft and smooth out of this phone. Details in the selfies are not too high, but users who love having highly beautified selfies, they are gonna admire this phone's result. To check out more camera samples including the photos and videos, check out my full Redmi Note 11 camera review. It's already on the channel. And by the way, I have done a full tips and tricks video on this phone as well. Do check that out as well. Redmi has shipped this phone with a 5000 mAh battery. That's a pretty big battery for a phone of this size having an AMOLED panel. I have no doubt about this phone's battery to last for a good couple of days. I had it lying around my office and in the idle mode it hardly dropped 10% battery over 3 days. To charge it, you get a 33 watt Pro fast charger, and with that our review approaches a conclusion. Redmi Note 11's price point makes it a very interesting device, and now I have my eyes set on the Galaxy A23. That's the only device that I think can probably compete with the Redmi Note 11 once it comes out, and we'll definitely check that out. Otherwise, I do not think that there is any other device delivering better value for money at the moment. For the price you pay, you get a very decent device with good looking screen, large battery, acceptable cameras. Let me know what do you think about the Redmi Note 11. Would you be willing to buy this device? Which color are you likely to go with? Also subscribe and like if you haven't yet. With that being said, I will sign off and see you all in the next one.